Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to your own channel, that is the Global Inform. This channel is absolutely democratic because it's for the people and of the people. Today, in this video, we are going to discuss about the ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia, in which the Donald Trump has an important role to play. We will discuss why America has stopped military help to Ukraine, the real story behind it, and after this stoppage, who actually is getting benefited from it. In this video, we are going to cover the US military aid to Ukraine in 2025, Russia versus Ukraine war update, how does NATO react to US military aid cuts, who benefits from America cutting off Ukraine, and global politics and war strategy analysis. So this video is going to be very entertaining, gripping and informative. So stay tuned till the last. The Ukraine dilemma. America's game of power and strategy. As rightly said by Robert Greene, in the game of power, victory belongs to those who played best. It is absolutely suitable in every situation of war. Let's begin with the meeting that shook the world globally. In the Grand Halls of White House, a high-stake meeting took place between former US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. It was meant to be a discussion on war aid, diplomacy and strategy. But by the time it ended, the world was left with more questions than answers. Entire world, world leaders and everyone was truly stunned. What seemed like a routine diplomatic engagement quickly turned into a geopolitical storm. Within 3 days of this meeting, on March 3rd, Trump's administration made a shocking decision. The decision was the United States halted all military aid to Ukraine, including a staggering $8.7 billion worth of weapons already en route to the war-torn nation that is Ukraine. The silence from Washington was deafening. No official statement from US Department of Defense, no explanation from President Trump. Just a brutal reality check for Ukraine, one that had sent shockwaves across the global stage right from east to west. Upon this, the question arises, a blow to Ukraine is a win for Russia? Let's find out the answer. For Ukraine, this was a devastating setback. But as far as Russia is concerned, for Russia it was a strategic advantage. The big question now arises, was this the moment that would turn the tide of the war? But let's get one thing straight. Trump had not permanently cut off Ukraine's military assistance. According to the White House insiders, this was a temporary suspension because of the meeting that shook the world across. There was a catch. If Zelensky showcased willingness to negotiate peace with Russia, aid might resume, the insiders says. This move was not entirely unexpected. A month earlier, that is on 3rd February, Trump had warned that he would not tolerate Zelensky's resistance to diplomatic talks forever. His message was quite clear that without a ceasefire with Russia, Zelensky won't remain in power for long. Yet, when asked directly whether he was planning to cut off the logistical support to Ukraine, Trump responded very shockingly. We will see that what happens. And hours later, military aid was frozen. This means this military aid cutting was pre-planned. It was bound to happen, maybe because of the relations between Russia and America. To be more precise, the relationship between Putin and Donald Trump. The implications were very immediate. All weapons shipments, including those stored in Poland and those were in transit, were blocked indefinitely. The aid package worth over $1 billion was now off the table, leaving Ukraine scrambling for the alternatives. As rightly said by ancestors, history is written by the victors, but wars are won by those who can sustain them. Now the question main arises is, how much has the US invested in Ukraine? Let's talk about some important figures. Since the beginning of the war, United States has been Ukraine's biggest backer, supplying the weapons, financial aid and intelligence support. The aid was provided through three key mechanisms. The number one, Presidential Drone Authority, that is PDA. The US President directly allocated funds from military budget to support Ukraine. This amount was totally across $3.85 billion. The second mechanism is foreign military financing, that is called as FMF. Through the United States Department, Ukraine received another $4.65 billion given either as direct grants or as a loan. And at last, Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, which is famously known as USAI, established especially for the war. This program provided air defense system, missiles, tanks and artillery. In the period between October 2021 and December 2024, US has provided around $182.88 billion in aid, which is an astronomical sum. And by January 2025, the figure had climbed to $6.9 billion. But there is a bigger picture yet to come, which I will explain. In just 4 years, the US Department of Defense had sent Ukraine $268 billion in military support, which is across nearly $2.4 trillion, which included weapons, drones, ammunition, anti-aircraft systems, cyber warfare units, intelligence tools, and the list goes on. Friends, the war is won by those who control the resources, not just the battlefield. To be more precise, kingmakers. Guys, now let's try to understand what will happen if America walks away totally out of this war. Number 1. Ukraine's military capability will be cut in half, even beyond that. Second, its frontline defenses will weaken within at max to max 3 months. Russian advances will become significantly harder to resist. Means the Ukraine is going to be weaker on every front. The Center for Strategic and International Studies has already warned that without the US support, Ukraine's military could collapse in just 14 days. While European nations have pledged continued support, they simply lack the military firepower to match as that of United States. But despite strong political backing from leaders like of France, UK and Germany, their military capabilities pale in comparison to America. Europe has very limited capacity. European nations have tried to fill the gap, but the resources are stressed very thing. United Kingdom pledged $2 billion to buy 5,000 air defenses missiles. France, Denmark and Sweden reaffirmed their commitment, but their military stockpiles are far too smaller. Whereas Germany, Spain and Italy have shown hesitation, fearing economic repercussions. Meanwhile, Russia has increased its defense budget by whopping 41%, raising its military spending to $120 billion, which is 6.7% of the GDP. In war, the moral is to the physical as there is to none. Trump's bigger game: power, politics and legacy. Let's try to understand what is the strategy behind all this of Donald Trump. Many analysts believe Trump's decision is not just about Ukraine, but it's about his legacy and political ambitions. Number 1. The America's first strategy. Trump has always pushed for reducing US spending on foreign wars. Cutting Ukraine's aid fits into his vision of prioritizing American interest over the international conflicts. Number 2. Positioning himself as a peacemaker to outshine his own image. Trump wants to end the war on his own terms and take credit of brokering the peace. If he forces Ukraine into ceasefire, he can claim he has stopped a costly conflict, boosting his global image. Number 3. Pressure on Zelensky. With weapons supplies running out, Ukraine has no choice but to negotiate. Zelensky must decide whether to fight an unwinnable war or to accept a peace deal that leaves parts of Ukraine under the Russian control. Now, the larger question: what happens next? As of now, Zelensky is signaling a willingness to negotiate. On February 3rd, he released a video statement saying that we understand America's importance. We have never taken its support for granted. I hope Ukraine's security needs will be heard. Now comes and let's discuss about the reality is grim. If Trump stops aid, Ukraine faces military defeat. If Ukraine negotiates peace, Russia will keep its captured territories. And if the war drags on, Europe alone won't be enough to sustain Ukraine. So, meanwhile, Trump continues positioning himself as a leader who brings peace through his strength. First, he pushed for a ceasefire in Gaza, now in Ukraine. His message through all these actions is quite clear. And the leader who ends wars, not starts them. So guys, a war that was never Ukraine's alone. Let's understand how. This war was never just talking about Ukraine and Russia, but it is about global struggle and influence caused by this war. America's involvement was not just about helping Ukraine, but it was about strategic dominance over Russia. Now, with Trump's latest move, the world waits to see: will Ukraine survive without US aid? Will Europe step up? Or will Russia emerge victorious? In all this scenario, one thing is certain: this war is far from over right now. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have got the actual picture in front of you regarding the ceasefire of Russia and Ukraine war. If you have found this story informative, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Also write in comments which story should we cover the next, because this channel is especially to raise the voice of common citizens like all of us. So in next video. Thank you. God bless you.